Imagine that tonight, in the quietest hour, when the house has gone silent and there is no one left to perform for. Something slips into the room with you, not a ghost, a voice, and it tells you with no malice and no comfort, a single fact, that you will live this life again, not a better version, not the highlights, this exact life, down to the smallest detail, every embarrassment, every grief, every wasted afternoon, every word you wish you could take back, and every joy too, but in the same order, with the same ending, forever. The same argument with your mother, the same diagnosis, the same Tuesday you cannot even remember. An infinite number of times with nothing new in it, not even this moment, not even the voice telling you. And then it asks you one question: would you fall to your knees and curse it, or would you call it the most divine thing you had ever heard? Sit with that for a second before you answer, because how you answer is, according to one philosopher, the entire measure of your life. Now, you may have met this idea before in a softer coat. It usually arrives as a gentle little exercise about letting go of regret. Love your fate, the videos say. Everything happened for a reason. Every choice was the best you could have made. Accept it all and feel better. And that version is comforting. And it is also a mistranslation, a domesticated, declawed version of what is actually one of the most violent and demanding thoughts ever put into words. Because the man who built this did not build it to help you sleep. Friedrich Nietzsche called it das schwerste Gewicht, the heaviest weight. He meant it to land on you like a stone. And before you let anyone sell it back to you as positive thinking, you should understand what it really is, what it was designed to do, and why he believed it could either crush a person or transform them into something new. There is no neutral way to receive it. That is the point. It did not come to him in a study. In August of 1881, Nietzsche was walking by a lake in the Swiss Alps, near a village called Sils Maria, when the thought struck him beside a huge pyramid-shaped boulder rising out of the water. He scribbled a note that day with a strange phrase on it: 6,000 feet beyond man and time. He did not experience it as a clever argument. He experienced it as a revelation that nearly broke him. He wept, he trembled. He said the intensity of it made him feel both unbearably exalted and unbearably exposed. This is the first thing the comfortable version hides from you. The eternal recurrence was not a calm conclusion. It was something closer to being struck by lightning and having to decide, in the burning, whether to bless or curse the sky. When he finally wrote it down for the public, he did not write it as a theory. He wrote it as that scene in the dark room. In his book, The Gay Science, he asks you to imagine a demon stealing into your loneliest loneliness and telling you that you must live every detail again innumerable times, and he names the details on purpose. Every pain and every joy and every thought and sigh and the unspeakably small and great in your life must return, all in the same succession: the spider and the moonlight between the trees, and this very moment, and I myself. He chooses the spider and the moonlight deliberately. Not the wedding, not the funeral, the forgettable in between, the dead time, the moments you were barely even present for. Those come back too. And then he asks, would you throw yourself down and gnash your teeth and curse the demon who spoke this? Or have you once experienced a moment so enormous that you would answer, you are a god, and I have never heard anything more divine? That is the weight, not pain. The eternity of the ordinary. And here is the part almost everyone gets backwards. Nietzsche did not design this thought to make everyone feel accepted. In his private notebooks, he described it as something far stranger and harder, a great cultivating thought, a kind of sieve for human beings. He believed that confronting the eternal return would act as a filter. It would crush the people who secretly could not stand their own lives, and it would strengthen and elevate the ones who could meet it without flinching. It was meant to divide, not to soothe. So when the idea reaches you, flattened into love your fate, smile more, it has been turned into the exact opposite of what he intended. He did not offer it as a warm blanket for everyone. He offered it as a question with teeth, designed to reveal who you actually are when no afterlife and no excuse is left to you. So why is it so heavy? Why can most people not simply say yes and move on? Nietzsche's deepest answer is hidden in his book Thus Spoke Zarathustra, in a passage about revenge, and it is the insight the soft version never touches. He says the thing that truly poisons a human being is not suffering itself. It is the will's helplessness in the face of what has already happened. The will, he says, cannot will backwards. It cannot move the stone of it was. Everything that is finished, every loss, every humiliation sits there permanently outside your power, and you cannot reach back and change a single second of it. And out of that helplessness, he says, grows the spirit of revenge, a quiet, grinding resentment against time itself, against the fact that the past is the past. Look closely and you will find this revenge underneath almost everything that eats at people. The guilt that will not close, the bitterness that calls itself realism, the endless private trial in which you keep re-prosecuting your own history. We are not, most of us, suffering from our lives. We are suffering from our refusal to forgive them for having happened. And this is exactly where the comfortable version sets its trap. Because the easy way to quiet that revenge is to tell yourself a story. It was all for the best. It was meant to be. Every step was necessary and therefore fine. That sounds like acceptance. But listen to what it is actually doing. It only makes peace with the past by insisting the past was secretly good, by editing the pain into a lesson, sanding the horror into a stepping stone. And the moment life hands you something that refuses to be made into a lesson, a loss with no upside, a cruelty with no redemption, that whole strategy collapses and the revenge comes flooding back. A yes that depends on everything turning out to mean something is not really a yes to your life. It is a negotiation. It is still, underneath, saying no to the parts that do not comply. What Nietzsche asks for is harder, and it is the real heart of the thing. He calls it redemption, and he defines it precisely: to redeem those who are the past, and to transform every it was into thus I willed it. Not to pretend the past was good, not to find the silver lining, but to claim it so completely, to take such total authorship of your entire life, the wrong turns, the disasters, the parts that meant nothing, that you would knowingly, will every bit of it to return. And he sets an almost impossible condition on this, because he understood that life is not a menu. In one of his strangest, most beautiful passages, he writes that all things are entangled, ensnared, enamored, that if you have ever said yes to a single joy, one real moment of joy, then you have already said yes to all of it, because that joy did not arrive alone. It was produced by the entire chain of your life, every wound and every wrong that led you to exactly that instant. You cannot keep the one moment and disown the road that made it. To love any part of your life truly is to will the whole of it back. That is why it is the heaviest weight. There is no cherry-picking eternity. Nietzsche knew how monstrous this could feel, so he gave us an image for it, and it is the most disturbing and most overlooked scene in all his work. In a chapter called The Vision and the Riddle, the wanderer Zarathustra describes a young shepherd he finds writhing on the ground, choking, because a heavy black snake has crawled into his open mouth while he slept and bitten fast into his throat. Zarathustra pulls at the snake with his hands and cannot tear it loose. And then something in him screams a single command: "Bite! Bite its head off! Bite!" The shepherd, in one decisive act, bites down and spits the head far away and springs up. And Nietzsche writes, "No longer shepherd, no longer human one transformed, radiant, laughing. No human being ever laughed as he laughed." The snake is the thought itself, the nauseating realization that everything returns, even the small and the mediocre, even the worst of it, forever. The snake crawls in while you are asleep to your own life, and you do not get free of it by reasoning with it, or by pulling gently, or by telling yourself a nicer story. You get free by the bite, by a single, total act of affirmation that you choose, with your whole body in the dark. And on the other side of that bite is a kind of laughter that was simply not available to you before. This is what Nietzsche actually meant by Amor fati, the love of fate. And you can see now how far it is from acceptance. Acceptance is what you do when you have given up. Amor fati is the opposite of giving up. The philosopher Schopenhauer, whom Nietzsche revered and then turned against, had said the wise response to a world full of suffering was to say no to it, to want less, will less, withdraw, quiet the whole hungry machine of desire. Amor fati is the ferocious reversal of that. It does not withdraw from life. It says yes so hard that it wills the whole thing back, pain and striving and failure included. And notice, crucially, that this yes is not passive. It does not mean stop trying, stop building, stop fighting for what you want. Your striving, your ambition, even your defeats are part of the fate you are loving. The yes contains all of it. Nietzsche was honest that he had not fully reached this himself. He wrote, "Someday I wish to be only one who says yes. Someday. It is a discipline and a summit, not a mood you switch on." But think of what such a person would be. An opponent who is being beaten and smiles anyway. There is nothing in the world more unshakable and nothing harder to defeat than a human being who would not trade a single hour of their life away. And this is where the idea turns from a verdict on your past into an instrument for your future, its sharpest and most useful edge the one the regret management version never reaches. Nietzsche wrote this in the shadow of his most famous sentence, "God is dead." He meant that the old guarantee was gone, the heaven that would one day balance the books, the cosmic author who would make all your suffering add up to something in the end. If that is gone, then this life is no longer a rough draft for a better one somewhere else. This life is the whole of it, and the eternal recurrence is what rushes in to fill that empty sky. It hands every ordinary day back its full and terrible weight because there is no second redeemed version coming. So it becomes a test you can apply forward to the very next thing you do. Whatever you are about to choose, how you spend this evening, the resentment you are about to feed, the call you keep not making, the life you are quietly settling for, ask it plainly, would I be willing to live this, exactly this, on infinite repeat? Not as a threat, as a filter. Most of what we do would not survive that question for a moment. And a few things, the honest work, the real love, the thing you are afraid to begin, would survive it completely. The recurrence does not tell you to relax. It tells you to stop living a life you would not want back, which leaves us with the strangest feature of the whole idea, the paradox Nietzsche staked everything on. The heaviest weight is also the only real liberation. The very thought that arrives as a curse, you must live all of this again, is the same thought that, if you can ever bite down on it and say yes, makes you, in his words, well disposed to yourself and to life. Because at that point, nothing can be taken from you. You are no longer waiting for your real life to begin somewhere else. No longer at war with your own history, no longer ruled by the spirit of revenge against a past you cannot change. You have stopped demanding that existence be other than it is, and the demand that it be otherwise was the source of the suffering all along, not the events, but the war against the events. To lay that war down is not resignation. It is the most complete victory available to a human being. So let the voice come back in the quiet hour with its impossible offer. You will live this life again, this exact one, forever, the spider and the moonlight and all of it. You know now that it is not really asking about the universe. It is asking about you. It is asking whether there is anyone home in your life large enough to take responsibility for the whole of it and want it back. Most people, hearing that, fall to their knees and curse. But there is another answer, and Nietzsche spent his whole broken, brilliant, lonely life reaching for it and writing it down so that you would have it on the night the voice arrives. You do not have to be able to say it yet. You only have to know it is possible. Look the thing dead in the eye, the way the shepherd bit down in the dark, and say, "You are a god, and I have never heard anything more divine. Live it again. I want all of it. Bring it back."